kind of a set of comments, and then we'll ask for council questions, and that's where you can get out a lot more content.
Yes, sir. I will start then and skip through a lot of this and get to zero fare, and then the CARES Act funding that will be coming in to the region. As far as zero fare goes, I believe in my heart that the majority of this council, as well as the ATA, believes that zero fare is the right thing to do. I believe that in my heart. The question is, how do we do it? And that's where the process works, which it is, which are conversations that we're having and questions that are being answered and how we do this, how we do that. And I think that's great. Meanwhile, what we have done, remember, is public transit is zero fare right now throughout the region. We have 21,000 trips a day. We talk about before this crisis that people are transit dependent, or those people have to ride public transit. Well, those people, they're the ones that are keeping the city breathing, because they're the ones that are going to work. They're the ones that are going to the hospital. They're the ones that are going, and they're keeping the city breathing. So when we do come out of this, let's please remember that public transit is a huge part of this equation. And we still want to be able to allow those folks that opportunity to access opportunity. And so I'll leave it at that. But let's make this clear. We've been talking about $4.8 million or $6 million or $8 million and all this kind of thing. Bottom line is, we can all be perfectly honest here. It's not going to be there. Okay? We're going to hit a cliff, obviously, of sales tax receipts coming up here, and that, in my opinion, and our board's opinion and staff's opinion, is exactly where that CARES Act funding needs to be. Okay? We are actually keeping all of our full-time operators working right now. Although we've cut service down to a Saturday plus, we call it, schedule, the fact is we're keeping everybody employed and not dumping 70 people on the street. What we're doing with them is actually doing a better job of cleaning our buses, of cleaning our buildings. We've had one positive case. We can give you all the rest of the numbers if we want right now. So I'd say that we're doing a pretty good job of what we need to do. But let's be clear. Our operators are scared. They're scared, but they're courageous. And they're out there every day. And people can talk about first responders, and you're absolutely right. And people at the hospitals and all of that. But you know what? Our operators are part of that group too. Public transit is a piece of that puzzle. So it's not necessarily the 4.8 or the 6 million or whatever. What it is the two taxes. We have a 3/8 cent tax and a 1/2 cent tax. We get the 3/8, the 1/2 cent, and we can go into as much detail as you want, but I know you've all seen that. Kind of shaves off about $6 million a year that was supposed to go to the ATA. Okay, was supposed to go to public transit, and it hasn't. The ATA has never asked for, nor will we ask for, anything more than we're supposed to get. If we get this, then we can play and move into the future here and say that, okay, if these sales taxes are set, if they come in short, we'll have to adjust. If they come in high, we can adjust that way. Okay, but what I don't think it needs to be, in my opinion, is just, okay, well, we're going to carve out 4.8 here, we're going to carve out 1.2 here, we're going to do whatever. And God bless all of you for trying, Councilwoman Robinson, the mayor, everybody that's been supportive of this thing, because it is the right thing to do. And it's really helping people right now, and once everybody's lost their job and sorry.
Is that all right? You got it, brother.
And lose your car. What are you going to do? Now, everybody wants to talk about the ATA and whether I hear the rumors and staff whispering in people's ears about, well, I don't even know if they're viable or not. Their finances aren't. Are you kidding me? Okay? When we walked in here 4 years ago, you're right, the ATA was a mess. It was circling the drain. When we came in, there were no caps on vacation pay, no caps on sick pay. The organization was fat packed with management employees. They were spending money hand over fist and bleeding it. That is not the case anymore. We have been in a 4-year process of cleaning up our house on the inside while doing amazing things on the outside. When you talk about reserve usage, the reserve usage is because we've made transit free for veterans and 100,000 school kids and people from domestic violence shelters and even the federal courts. That's where the reserve usage is coming from. We're only averaging about 1.5 million in reserve usage. Okay, I could attribute all of that to zero fare that we've done. And you know what? I think that's a pretty good use of taxpayer dollars, rather than buying Post-it notes or buying tabletops at a chamber dinner or whatever else it would be. Because I would argue that that money has gone right back into the community. And those folks don't have to pay that $1.50, and they sure need it now. So it's the right thing to do. It's just how we get there. And I appreciate all of you and the process that we've been trying to go through on how do we get there. Okay, and everybody's got great ideas, and I think as we start coming out of this, we can. But as far as I'm concerned, for the next until the stay-at-home order is rescinded, we will still do it. And we have an opportunity to use funding for that from the federal process. And then along that lines, if you can, number one, we need our contract, or we need our budgeted contract done today if you possibly can. It's getting close. And number two, if we can have that serious conversation about getting the ATA the money that it was supposed to have from that tax, nothing else, then I think we can all get there together. I'll be happy to get with each one of you individually if you have more financial questions. With our CFO I have here, Michael Graham, and my deputy in operations, Jameson Otten, Vice President Jameson Otten. And with that, sir, I'll answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you, Mr. Mackinnon. I want to note just two things very briefly. First of all, I'm the council member who probably has the fortune of living the closest to your headquarters. And if I weren't as heavy a sleeper, your buses would wake me up every morning about 4:30 a.m. And I'm not complaining about that. It shows the dedication of your workforce every day. Rain, snow, no matter the time of the year, they go back and they get to work. And I've been seeing that during this crisis too. Your folks are picking up everybody, right? And no matter what happens, they're there for us. So I hope you can go back and communicate to them a very significant thank you. Because every now and then, and you and I live in this same world, Mr. Mackinnon, that there are people that try to throw shade at us for some reason. And they often ask, well, why are the buses still going? And they don't realize that you're a lifesaver for many. That this is how people actually get to that appointment. This is how people survive. This is how people get to work. And there are a whole bunch of people for whom life isn't just driving to their house, their car's there, they can afford the car repair, all that sort of stuff. And so I think that's why we've continued to invest in you.
Amen.
The reason I wanted this opportunity was really so you could kind of say what you just did. I know a lot of people say a lot of things about ATA and always say that there are questions and any concerns. I think Mr. Mackinnon's here to address them, if you have them. He's here to explain what we have planned, you have planned, over the months ahead, over the year ahead, and frankly, what you're doing with funding, whether it be CARES Act, zero fare, or anything under the sun. So I wonder if there are any questions for Mr. Mackinnon. Councilman O'Neill.
Robbie, what are you expecting, or have you been told that there will be any stimulus money coming from the transportation, from the federal?
Yes, sir.
Federal Department of
I'm
Transportation.
sorry, I didn't give that amount. Yes, we are actually have done the application, and we can draw down on that. Mr. Graham, for how long?
We can draw down on it until the funds are expended, or the federal government takes the money, rescinds the money.
How much
I
is?
believe that's 20, from the Kansas side, it's 21 million and 29 from Missouri.
51 total.
Could I just make a request? You have a lot of, I don't know if they're deemed frontline workers, but those who drive those buses are exposed on a daily basis to very dangerous situations. I would love to see you use some of that money, and maybe you are, but to increase payrolls or whatever during the course of this, because these are workers that are out there, much like firefighters, police, exposing themselves to help the public, and that's just something I respectfully would ask in this.
Councilman, I appreciate that comment, and I will answer absolutely. We will talk through that. The point is, though, one of the first priorities of this money is, like I said earlier, under a state of emergency with the KCATA now, which we are in, fact of the matter is, since we've reduced service, we could actually lay off 60 or 70 employees, full-time employees. We're not doing that. We're not doing that because, again, we're going to have them stay around and make the system even safer, number one. Number two, we're allowing, I've talked to Councilwoman Robinson and others of you, allow our resources to be available for the community. We've talked to Dr. Bebdell a little bit about maybe a Wi-Fi setup for kids, or whether it's a mobile testing or whatever you need us for. We have some resources and we have the workforce to do it. But back to your point, sir, the point is we don't want to let these people go. All right? So using this funding to keep our folks fully employed, and using this funding to think through the fact that you know as well as I do, we're looking at a 20-30% cliff of sales tax receipts. And when that comes in, we darn well better have the money to be able to fix it, be able to keep service running and keep these folks employed and do what we have to do. Thank you.
Councilman, no, I'm just assuming. I'm sorry.
You were reading my mind. I was thinking about a question, but I could probably talk to Mr. Mackinnon offline.
Understood. Thank you. Any other questions?
Question? Oh, well, I don't.
Yes, Councilwoman Robinson.
I have more of a statement than a question. Thank you so much for your presentation, and thank you for your passion for the poor and for individuals that do have economic issues that rely on the bus for their essential needs every day, not just during a crisis, but 24/7, 365 days. I do want to make sure that the council is aware, and I think it's important for the benefit of those who are listening at home regarding this tax, because I have issues with the mistrust of public taxes as it relates to when this tax was passed and what the expectation of the tax was. I am a supporter of the streetcar, but I understand that $2 million of this tax, when it was passed, is going to the streetcar. Also, $3.7 million are going towards TIFs. And so you came and you asked us to support zero fare, and this council, not just us, but even prior councils that decided to take $2 million for the streetcar, which is completely free, but we will not make the decision to make sure that all buses are free. Shame on us. I know that, again, that this was a prior decision, but I appreciate your passion, but I think that it's important for individuals to know the truth. And it's important for individuals to understand what priorities that we have as a council, and as we're being governors over this tax dollars. When it was passed, the voters voted for public transit. They didn't vote for TIFs. They didn't vote for the streetcar, although I'm a supporter of the streetcar, but it's important for us to make that plain.
Councilwoman, if I could add to that, yes, the point of that half-cent tax was to go to public transit, okay? And then it got peeled off time after time after time, and then the little shell games were played and whatever. All I'm saying is all we want is what we were supposed to get, and that's it. And back to your other point, ma'am, don't forget, zero fare, the ATA doesn't make any money off zero fare, okay? It's going right back into the community. Again, it's not having to pay $1.50 to get on a bus. And you know what? The people that are working, all those essential workers and everybody that are using public transit right now, are we just going to forget about them afterwards? Okay, thanks for your help. Now we're going to go back.
Is there a sunset on the tax? Do the voters have to renew the tax?
No, not on the half cent, because we went down there after the ordinance that was put through to give us 95% of it. We went down there and busted our rear ends along with a lot of others and Senator Curls and a lot of other people to get it taken off.
Well, I'm sorry that we reneged on that, sir. We'll continue to fight.
And I can clarify I believe that 95% was by council resolution, which sunsets with each council. So if council wanted to take action, we certainly could pull that resolution back up and discuss it with this council if you wanted to make that effective.
That's how we get there, okay? Having these kind of conversations, and again, I'm grateful to all of you, okay? You've all been great about, you know what, yeah, we need to do this, but we need to do it the right way. Because you know the crazy guy just wants to flip a switch and make it happen. Okay, so I appreciate this, okay? But we need to look into tax abatements. We need to look at maybe a surcharge on big parking structures within the city. There are all kinds of options that we can look at to be able to access this money, okay, and to be able to move us forward. But one of those, and the most important one, is the 3/8.5 cent.
Councilman Bunch.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off of something that Councilwoman Robinson mentioned, which was that some amount is being siphoned away from the ATA, and it's not, and I won't defend the streetcar that is coming out at half-cent sales tax. And so, as I mentioned in legislative session a couple weeks ago, the amendment I proposed for the budget would have gotten us closer, or maybe even over. I didn't have the actual number of that 95% that Mr. Mackinnon keeps referring